away by the number of registrations we have on today's webinar. Must be a testament to the topic being discussed, so we're really excited to get started. I'd like to start off by introducing Klein Educational Systems. Klein Educational Systems has been in business for over 30 years and is a third-generation family-owned company. Klein Educational Systems feels it's our job to stay up with industry trends and being able to share our findings and conclusions with our customers. So out of all the trends we have our eyes on right now, I can tell you supply chain automation is absolutely at the top of our list. Before the COVID crisis began, the research firm eMarketer predicted that the global e-commerce market would reach $5 trillion by 2021. This will represent a 40% annual growth rate over 2 years. And that was before COVID-19, a crisis that has only accelerated this rate of growth. I wanted to spend a couple minutes talking about the West Coast specifically and some of the trends that are currently developing. Out of the top 10 estimated growth areas in the entire US, 2 of the 10 locations are based right here in California. Prologis, one of the largest real estate rental operations and development companies in the warehousing logistics market, reported for every 1 million square feet of warehouse space, you will need an estimated 1,200 skilled technicians. I challenge everyone attending the webinar today to do some research and find out what's going on in your area and see what opportunities are available for your community. Just to name a few, Amazon opened a new fulfillment center in Goodyear, Arizona, and will be hiring 1,200 new technicians by the end of 2020. Gap in Fresno, California, has 400 open tech positions as of October 2020. CBRE reported that in Q1 2019, Las Vegas, Nevada was in the top 10 leading markets for warehouse construction with over 5.5 million square feet currently under construction. These companies are looking right now where they can buy up land or property and move into a community with a skilled workforce in place. Amazon in September opened 100 new facilities. I just find that to be amazing. That's why today's topic on innovative tools in education and upskilling the supply chain automation technicians is so timely and important, and I'm sure you're as eager as I am to get started. Joining us today are 3 of our country's most sought after and respected authorities on supply chain automation, who will share with us the challenges and opportunities in the supply chain automation market and best practices in upskilling, certifying the supply chain automation workforce. First, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Steve Harrington. Steve Harrington is the industry liaison for the National Center for Supply Chain Automation. In this role, he's responsible for the development and oversight of the national industry leadership team consisting of supply chain executives, logistics industry stakeholders. He also has 28 years of experience in the supply chain operations. Steve, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's great to be here.
Following Steve, we will hear from Mr. Neil Reddy. Mr. Reddy is the co-founder of the Manufacturing Skills Standard Council, also known as MSSC, an industry-led nonprofit training, assessment, and certification organization focused on the core technical competencies needed by the nation's frontline production and material handling workers. Today, Mr. Reddy oversees all aspects of MSSCs from operations to marketing. Neil, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Chris. I'm excited to be here. Appreciate it.
Finally, and following Mr. Reddy, we'll be joined by Mr. Paul Perkins. Paul Perkins is the co-founder, president, and CEO of Amatrol, a Jeffersonville, Indiana developer and manufacturer of technical learning systems and online learning materials for teaching skills that prepare individuals for employment in industries such as manufacturing and energy. Amatrol products are used by thousands of colleges, industry training centers, and high schools throughout all 50 states and 53 foreign countries. As many of you know, Klein Educational Systems is the exclusive distributor for MSSC and Amatrol in Oregon, Washington, Arizona, Nevada, California, Hawaii, and Alaska. Paul, it is so great to have you with us as well.
Thank you, Chris. It's great to be here today.
So let's get started by handing the meeting over to Mr. Steve Harrington of the National Center for Supply Chain Automation. Mr. Harrington.
Thank you, Chris. In 2011, 2 academics were seeking National Science Foundation funding for a growing occupation that was emerging in the modern 21st century warehouse they called the supply chain technician. This emerging technician occupation with a distinct career pathway was occurring at the intersection of traditional industrial mechanics with motor controls and information technology. The demand for these well-paid, multi-skilled technicians was growing exponentially, and no one outside the industry knew it. Hands-on educational training programs contextualized to meet this growing demand were non-existent. The two academics I referenced earlier convinced an NSF program officer to come to California to see some of these automated facilities in operation. He agreed and was taken on tours of a fully automated Skechers building and a highly automated Cardinal Healthcare operation. Like most people, the program officer had no idea automated systems like these were in use in today's technically advanced logistics environment. He was amazed. He could see why these highly automated systems required skilled technicians to keep them operational. NSF funding for the National Center for Supply Chain Automation was approved. This slide illustrates examples of the automated systems that exist in today's modern warehouse, courtesy of Swisslog. It should help provide some context for today's webinar. The National Center for Supply Chain Automation was funded under the NSF Advanced Technological Education Program, which is focused on technician education in emerging occupations in STEM discipline fields with defined career pathways that pay living wages for entry-level positions. The focus of our work is on the occupation, which is termed the supply chain technician, which is also referenced as a supply chain automation technician, a multi-craft technician, or simply a technician in today's modern 21st century logistics centers. The center works with industry to develop resources in support of this occupation, which are available for use by educators. Everything the center develops is with input, guidance, and vetting by members of our industry leadership team. Some of those resources included occupational profiles, a model program, course outlines, educational videos, white papers, and our introduction to the automated warehouse e-textbook I'll be speaking about in a few minutes. As a result of our grant funding, all of our resources are available at no cost to users and are available for download on our website. The center does not engage in direct student education. This is handled by our educational collaborators at community colleges and technical schools across the country. The goal of the National Center is quite clear, which is to increase the supply of highly qualified supply chain automation technicians. In terms of the context for today's webinar, we're focusing on what is Objective 4, one of our 4 objectives, which is to establish and promote stackable national industry certifications in supply chain automation. We have partner colleges from across the country, which are listed here, and we are also have many other educational collaborators across the country in numerous states. We have a strong and robust industry advisory team. This is a list of the firms that were involved with the center upon its onset in development. Since then, the list of companies involved with our industry leadership team has evolved. We currently have 41 individuals from 29 different firms, which are part of the leadership team. At the other core of the center's focus is the definition of the occupation, which was given to us by industry years ago. A person who installs, maintains, supports, operates, or upgrades the automated material handling equipment and systems which support the supply chain. This is at the core of everything we do. We refer back to this definition in terms of staying within the scope of our work and our grant. As you can see on the screen in front of you, it's a multi-skilled, multi-craft sort of occupation. Traditional manufacturing had been very much trade focused. In today's modern world, people need to know a variety of skills and have quite a broad base of knowledge. NSF funds technician education in emerging occupations with living wages at the beginning and a growing career pathway. This is an example from one of our industry leadership team members of a career pathway within their organization, starting at the very beginning levels of a tech trainee and a tech 1, 2, 3, 4 level, in starting at positions that range in wages from $18 to $22 an hour. There's a progression that occurs as people gain more education and work their way up the career ladder. And so the middle band occupations pay anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 a year. And then those occupations on the far right-hand side make well in excess of $100,000 a year. So you can see the a great illustration here from industry of that career pathway that NSF supports. The National Center develops resources. One of the resources that we developed for educators was the Introduction to Automated Warehousing e-textbook. We couldn't identify a publication like this that existed anywhere and felt that it was important for us to provide context to what was occurring in the supply chain for those people that might have an interest. It's very important that you make people aware of careers in the supply chain before they actually choose a career pathway to head. And there are many career pathways. This ebook is designed as a survey course for high school and community colleges. It's available on iBooks and via PDF download. You can download it even by chapter and use it in any way, shape, or form. There's interactive widgets that are part of it, which are really pretty neat. And there's a supporting instructor manual with all the resources that an instructor needs in order to teach part or all of this program. At the conclusion of today's webinar, you will be receiving a communication from the National Center. In this will be a link to the e-textbook and a survey. But that for those of you that have an interest, you can click on the link and download the e-textbook and take a look at it and see if it fits with you in terms of your vision for your program. Earlier, Chris touched upon the size of the international e-commerce market at a $5 trillion level. This is another metric or a way to measure that, which occurred in 2019. There are 103 billion packages shipped globally. And boy, that's a large number. That is a large number. How do you even wrap your mind about how big that is, or 3,250 packages per second? So the important thing and the important takeaway from this slide is the fact that that has challenged the logistics industry, because traditional logistics was always done a carton or a case at a time or a pallet at a time. E-commerce is done an each at a time or a single item at a time, requiring companies to have those cartons and cases broken open, which requires a whole nother level of complexity in logistics operations. You add on top of that the need to ship goods in 2 days, 1 day, or even 2 hours in many parts of this country, and you see the dance that must go on behind the scenes in the logistics world to meet today's growing consumer demand. With that said, there's a doubling between now internationally and 2026 forecasted, or an additional 103 billion packages that need to be shipped. So there's a lot going on, and all of this drives the need for automated equipment and systems and the need for technicians to keep those operational. Going forward, the world is evolving from where consumer goods are quickly moving to a direct-to-consumer world, in a movement away from bricks and mortar retail. So literally manufacturers are shipping things oftentimes direct from their distribution centers on site, direct to customers. So that previewed what was happening internationally. This is a chart, slide, which illustrates what's going on in the US domestically. And you see that upward ramp from the growth of e-commerce as a percent of total US retail sales. Looking back to 2010, or it was about 4%, or 1 in 25 items that people were buying were being purchased via e-commerce. In the year 2019, on the far right, when it reached 11% of total US retail sales, that's about 1 in 9 items that consumers were purchasing. And the forecast for 2020, before COVID, was at about 1 in 8. So a continual gradual movement toward e-commerce. But what ended up happening was e-commerce as a result of COVID and people's needs to go and procure what they needed the only way possible. And in fact, growth is quite significant, but about 40% of the people that ordered things online in the month of March had never used e-commerce methods before. With that said, the growth that was forecasted at about 13% annually spiked up to 16%. So it went in 2019 to currently in 2020, from what was about 1 in 9 items consumers were buying to about 1 in 6, approaching 1 in 6. boy, that puts a lot of stress on logistics networks and the people that are behind the scenes to make all of that happen. So UBS, an international financial services firm, forecasted that 25% of all US retail spending will be online by 2025. The trend is it's expected to force about 100,000 physical stores to close. Now, everybody knows that the store closures at retail have been going on for a number of years. There were about 8,000 closing in the year 2017, 9,000 in 2018, about 12,000 in 2019. Now they're talking about over 20,000 stores closing a year. And what this represents is a wholesale transfer of what was occurring in bricks and mortar retail into today's modern 21st century logistics environment. That's a transference of that space from retail into the warehouse sector. And that's a transfer, a massive transfer of employment that's underway. Earlier, Chris touched upon this statistic. I was quite impressed he actually knew it. So you got to give Chris some credit here. But that Amazon added 100 facilities in the US to its US operations network in September alone. And that's facilities of all types, fulfillment and sortation centers, as well as delivery stations. But it shows you the growth of what is occurring in their network. Amazon added more logistics to their network in the past 3 years than Walmart added in 50. The other impact that's happening, so please understand that you have the whole e-commerce shipping environment that's occurring with today's logistics operators at the warehouse level. Where do these packages go? They go to package handling companies. Think of UPS, FedEx, USPS, and Amazon themselves. And so what happened as a result of the spike in March and April, with that growth and so going to 16%, it has outstripped the capacity of the current package handling industry. So forecasted for the upcoming holiday, the US has a capacity for about 79 million packages. Well, there's a daily demand that's going on around 86 million packages. My recommendation to folks is order early. But that gap there, what that's doing is adding employment to the sector. Companies are adding shifts, adding personnel, and of course, adding technicians to keep these automated equipment and systems operational. What it'll mean beyond today, because those are near-term stopgap measures, will be an addition of facilities to handle these sort of things with automated equipment and systems in those facilities. In 2016, CB Richard Ellis came up with a metric. Chris earlier touched upon some statistics with CB Richard Ellis indicating in 2019, 250 million square feet were under development in the US. So it's quite interesting. The e-commerce tsunami was already underway. But as a result of all of that, you look at the metric, which is about every 1 billion in e-commerce sales, there's around a need for 1.25 million square feet of additional distribution space. And so you look at the spike that occurred in the second quarter of this year, and what that's doing is it's sustaining that ongoing demand for around 250 million square feet of new construction annually in the US, and new buildings, existing buildings being changed over to meet e-commerce needs. But that's quite a trend going forward. And again, that supports the transference of employment, the transference of space, and in an annual demand. And all of this trend is accelerating the need for skilled technicians. So I think at this juncture, with all that industry data, you get the picture and the importance of that. The center's focus is on the research and resource development. Early on in center formation, a gap was identified that there were no industry-validated certifications that served this particular industry sector for technicians in the modern warehouse. As a result of that, in our work with our initial industry leadership team and industry stakeholders, there was an agreement that was created between MSSC and MHI, which is the Material Handling Industry of America, which represents the 750 companies that are involved in the manufacture, distribution, and integration of automated equipment and systems. So the center's role was to, as part of that MOU, was to conduct the research with industry. So as part of that, we convened industry groups, teased out these skills and the tasks that these technicians do in the modern world. We pulled together groups of large retailers, again, package handling firms, and the automated equipment and system suppliers themselves who install this automated equipment. We took that information, packaged it up, sent it on to the MSSC for the development on their side of the certification and to go through their process. Along the way, industry leadership team members from the center were involved in the validation of assessments, the validation of the skills standards, and in terms of what Paul Perkins will be speaking about in a little bit, the design of the Skillboss Logistics device, where the Amatrol engineers created the initial demos a couple of different times, and we convened industry groups to provide input into the development of those demos and help them fine-tune and tweak them to meet the industry's need to address the technician skills. Also, industry was involved in the validation of the e-learning. It's critical that the e-learning, which supports the device, which is aligned with the certification, is fully aligned with and integrated with the initial research the center did, with the occupational research that it did with its industry partners. You have a fully integrated system that's been developed to address that need. Going forward, it's the center's role to be able to promote the industry certification, as it is the center's role to promote industry certifications in general, and hence our participation in today's webinar. Going forward, there are a number of pilot programs around this certification underway with a bunch of our partners who are part of our grant team, along with other collaborative entities that I mentioned earlier in different parts of the country, working to figure out how to integrate these into their differing program, how to integrate this system into their existing A degree programs and or create programs and support in other ways. Something other of note is Target's involvement with the National Center. Target has been involved with the onset. They employ 1,800 technicians across the country, and they have pilot programs going on in Virginia, Illinois, California, and Texas. The particular program in California is focused around an apprenticeship program, which is quite novel. The others involved partnerships with local community colleges. One of the things the center does is a little bit of research, and I'm always on the hunt for industry data, which we pull together and we post up industry data reports on our website. That information contains data sets which can be useful to grant writers going after grant funding in support of the development of supply chain automation programs and or seeking funding assistance for the procurement of equipment for that same purpose. You can find these resources on our website, and also if you need some boots on the ground kind of tailored direction, feel free to reach out to myself. I have a little bit of knowledge about kind of the way to go about and finding local information which may be helpful to you. With that said, I'd like to go ahead at this juncture and turn the webinar over to my friend, Mr. Neil Reddy. Neil, if you could share, go ahead and share your screen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, and thank you for that superb presentation. The e-commerce numbers are pretty staggering. I'm so happy today to be able to share our 3 new certifications that we've partnered with for sort of many years now with Amatrol and the National Center for Supply Chain Automation. Gosh, guys, I think it's probably been at least, well, probably around almost 5 to 6 years to develop this full program that I'll be talking about. But with that said, just a few points on MSSC and who we are. We are a national leader in certifying frontline technicians in advanced manufacturing and logistics. We have, at this point, almost 1,800 authorized assessment centers that deliver our high stakes assessments around the country. We have a network of over 2,700 MSSC trained instructors that have gone through our authorized instructor training program. And we're actually the only national certification body accredited under ISO standard 17024. And very few out of the 5,000 certificate and certification groups in the country can have attained ISO 17024 level of accreditation. And so that it's very expensive and takes a lot of time, and just it's a quality assurance measure for MSSC. We're also endorsed by the National Association of Manufacturers for Manufacturing Logistics. And at this point, with today's launch, we have seven full certification systems. So 2 as production technicians, 1 as a logistics technician, forklift technician, and so forth. But for today, I'm happy to also mention that we have had a good partnership with MHI. Steve mentioned the Material Handling Industry of America in his presentation, and the Material Handling Equipment Distributors Association. And again, this automation technician that we're talking about is a person who installs, operates, supports, upgrades, or maintains the automated material handling equipment and systems that support the supply chain. And this is a fully comprehensive system like our other certification programs, in that we start with nationally validated standards. We use those standards to develop our assessments and the questions in our assessments, our courseware, our instructor training, our credentials, and we have a full registry of all of our certificates that's required under our ISO accreditation. Now, the first credential of the SCA program is called Equipment Maintenance, or CT-SCA EM. And this credential is aligned with the skills most supply chain employers require for an entry-level technician, maintenance technician. The bullet list shown under the title gives examples of the key activities or skills on which individuals are assessed for the certification. This includes skills such as system operation, safety, preventive maintenance, lubrication, and various types of machine adjustments. Now, after achieving the EM credential, the next credential individuals can pursue is equipment repair. Now, similar to maintenance, the equipment repair credential is aligned with the skills required to go to the next level technician occupation in most supply chain facilities, sometimes called a Tech 2, which is really to troubleshoot, install, and modify the electromechanical equipment. That includes working with systems such as hydraulics, pneumatics, AC and DC electric motors, and mechanical power transmission. Now, the final or third certification is network repair, or CT-SCA NOR. And this credential is really the capstone where our certificates can demonstrate competency of the entire automation system, adding controllers and networks. Like the other two credentials, the NR credential is aligned with industry requirements for Tech 3 level occupation. Now, in this credential, individuals must demonstrate their ability to install, configure, program, modify, and troubleshoot programmable logic controllers, variable frequency drives, Ethernet networks, barcode scanners, and the entire system. So each one of these certifications, based on some of the trials we're doing with some leading companies right now, actually we're looking at probably more than 150 hours, but we're saying 150 to 200 hours of training time for each of the three certifications. So equipment maintenance, equipment repair, network repair, they're going to be a combination of both an e-learning experience and a hands-on experience using the Skillboss Logistics device, which is really neat because that's the very kind of best project-based learning and one of the best ways to learn. So they're going through the computer e-learning and doing the hands-on, and it's all interacting together. So now, each one of these certifications, to earn the full certification, requires two assessments. One is a multiple choice assessment based on the e-learning, 90 to 120 minutes, and the other is a hands-on performance-based assessment using the Amatrol Skillboss Logistics device. Now, we're very excited about Skillboss Logistics. Again, we do have a national program, so we're in almost 1,800 assessment centers. So, and also we have to follow the guidelines and abide by the rules of ISO 17024 to maintain our accreditation. So, what that means is that really we have to have an equitable or fair training and assessment experience for all of our certificates around the country. And one thing, having the Skillboss Logistics device, as fabulous as it is, which you'll see here in just a sec, is that we can offer a fantastic training and assessment experience in classrooms, with computer labs. This does not require a really expensive multi-million-dollar lab. Just the Skillboss Logistics device and the e-learning is enough to get people on this career path, on a very lucrative career path, and onto fantastic career opportunities. So this is also very accessible for, schools, in company training centers, and also for underserved rural and urban areas. So we're very excited about the three certifications, and thank you again, and I'm going to turn things over to my good friend, Paul Perkins.
Well, thank you, Neil. As Neil mentioned, Skillboss Logistics is the device for assessing the hands-on skills in the CT-SCA certification. Everyone who gets certified must test out on the device to ensure the assessment is consistent. But Skillboss has a second purpose, which is to serve as a training device. The development of Skillboss has been an extensive process. It spanned about 2 years, and I can truly say it's been a team effort. The leadership has come from 5 key organizations: the National Center in California, MSSC in Virginia, Mahita in Illinois, MHI in North Carolina, and of course, Amatrol in Indiana. And the group that worked together on this not only had the vision for the device, but they also played a key role in engaging industry experts in the development. And we ultimately assembled a who's who of the supply chain industry with iconic names like some of those that you see here. These companies provided the expert advisors to work with us to shape the design of Skillboss, and they spent countless hours reviewing and testing the prototypes to validate the skills. The device that resulted from all this effort is the device you see here in the lower left corner of the screen, which is a working tabletop size sortation system. The Skillboss actually uses the same technologies and techniques that are used in larger scale sortation systems, like the system that you see here on the right side of the screen. On Skillboss, packages are inducted, scanned, routed to multiple conveyors, and then sorted into 3 destination chutes. Or if there's a bad scan, sent to a rework station. And the skills are not only applicable to sortation systems, we also made a special effort to include a wide range of technologies so the skills learned and assessed would apply to the entire range of supply chain automation they might encounter in these distribution centers. To learn the skills, we've developed 3 online courses which are aligned with the 3 CT-SCA certifications. And as Neil mentioned, the preparation time through these courses is upwards of 200 hours, and that includes both the hands-on and the e-learning. You can see here on this slide some examples of screens from the online courses that are provided. And you can see that they're truly multimedia in nature. They have animations, 3D graphics, voice and text, and I can say that they're very interactive. They're not just page turners. Another thing that's important to note about the way the courses have been designed is that they have been designed specifically to focus on the technology of supply chain automation. And what that means is that students can go through these courses a lot faster than if they were taking a traditional maintenance course series that are taught in colleges today, which have a lot of the same content, but actually more than just what's needed for the supply chain industry. And so going through these courses, students can do it in an accelerated way, which I think is a great fit for workforce development programs as well as incumbent worker programs in plants. The courses also feature simulators that allow students to perform many of the skills that they perform on Skillboss in an online environment. So we have electrical, mechanical, PLCs, automation, various types of virtual trainers that students work on. And one of the things that's really special about the software is that they have the ability to not just do it as they're directed, but they can go off and make mistakes and connect it in any way that they want to. And what that does is allow them to learn through their mistakes as well as learning through the correct procedures. So it's a very, very realistic environment. So the devices that the pieces of the system that the students work on are really, there's 3 major elements. One is a human machine interface, or HMI, that runs a warehouse control software. And you can see examples of screens in the lower left corner of the slide here. They also work with a control system, which is interfaced to the HMI. And you can see that in the upper left corner, and that includes a VFD. It includes a variable frequency drive to drive a motor. It includes DC motor drives, PLC, Ethernet network. And so all those elements come together to operate the workstation that you see on the right side of the screen. And that system has conveyors and actuators and a variety of components that all come together to recreate the sortation system. There's another component of Skillboss, in addition to all these elements, that's actually even more important, and that is an element that is designed to make the system not operate. And that is done through a computer-based fault insertion system that we incorporated into Skillboss called FaultPro. And FaultPro has the ability to insert over 50 faults into the system. You can see examples on the left-hand side of the screen. And the great thing about this computer-based fault insertion system is that it's safe. It doesn't hurt the student or the equipment to insert the faults. It's also automated, and so a teacher doesn't have to be tethered to the system while students are learning troubleshooting. Many times if teachers put faults into the system, they've got to be there to watch the student or to actually insert the fault, and this is all automated through the computerized system. And lastly, and most importantly, is that it creates a data record so that students can review the work that they did and understand how to improve their troubleshooting skills. So now that I've talked a little bit about how the system operates, I'd like to spend just a minute here through a short video and show you the system in operation. Skillboss is designed to be accessed from all four sides so multiple students can work on it at the same time. We've also designed it with safety features like guards with safety switches placed over critical moving components. To start the process, the packages are placed on the induction roller conveyor and then fed with gap spacing to the induction belt conveyor to be scanned by a barcode reader. The first package receives a good scan, so the vertical sorter remains horizontal and passes it to the distribution conveyor. The next package, though, got a bad scan, so the vertical sorter routes it to the recirculation conveyor on the top level. The package stops at a rework station where the person can fix the problem, which in this case is to flip over the package to show the barcode. It's then released to get scanned again. The final stage of the process is to sort the packages to their destinations, and this occurs on the distribution conveyor using 3 electropneumatic diverters, which sort the packages into 3 discharge chutes. Each diverter uses a different method common to sortation systems. To monitor and control the process, learners use a warehouse control software that runs on a touchscreen PC. The software features graphical screens to operate the system and has many other functions which are accessed from a main menu, which you can see here. Examples are system management, where the system is configured, and many order handling functions such as order picking, order tracking, order entry, and order analysis. There's also alarm screens and even a 3D monitoring and operation screen. And finally, students learn troubleshooting through the FaultPro software, which is accessed on the HMI PC. In summary, Skillboss has been carefully designed to provide a very realistic experience for learning a wide range of skills in operation and maintenance and troubleshooting on supply chain automation. As you might expect, instructors have a lot to learn to teach and certify individuals in the CT-SCA certifications in Skillboss. And to make sure that's a success, we've developed an instructor training course. And in fact, we just ran the first one last week, and it was a great success. All the instructors got certified, and in addition to going through the certification, they learned how to perform the hands-on skills and got familiar with how to provide the training in the classroom. So that's what I've got to share about Skillboss Logistics. If you have any questions about Skillboss, the certification, or the National Center, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us here at these email addresses. And now I'd like to turn it back to Steve Harrington for summary remarks. Steve?
Thank you so much, Paul. Outstanding presentation. So industry partners of the National Center have told us that the certification ISO accreditation and a standardized hands-on assessment, which in this case is a Skillboss Logistics device, is a very attractive program to them because it removes the legal liability they face, which is associated with self-testing and skill assessment bias. Firms face that all the time. They get sued for either hiring or promoting people and having to defend that. Hands-on skill assessments have always been a challenge with any type of technician skills verification system. Amatrol was able to solve this challenge in spades, and the center is thrilled with the outcome. At the core of the center's mission, NSF requires us to seek industry input and develop resources to meet industry's workforce needs. This collaborative outcome, which the certification in the Skillboss Logistics device, is perfectly aligned with our mission. There's one noteworthy point for many of you. Although The certification was developed to certify technicians in support of the logistics industry. From a foundational skills perspective, it addresses employer needs for entry-level technicians in today's manufacturing operations. So there's a multitude of ways for varying programs in different parts of the country for adoption of this system. With this in mind, the center is now a partner in an NSF grant application with an advanced manufacturing mega center that includes 5 academic institution partners. And we're hoping to receive positive news about this center funding in the spring. At the conclusion of today's webinar, you'll be receiving a follow-up email from the center containing links to both a survey and the Introduction to Automated Warehousing e-textbook I mentioned earlier. NSF requires that we gather feedback from participants in our activities. This sort of feedback helps direct our future work and allows us to maintain our funding. If you have an interest in learning more about center resources, NSF funding opportunities, or the NSF Mentor Connect program, question 4 of the survey provides a field for you to enter your name and contact information for a future center follow-up in the weeks to come. For these reasons, I kindly ask that you take 2 minutes to complete the survey. Thank you so much. With that said, I'd like to turn this meeting back over, this webinar back over to Joe to lead our Q&A session. Joe?
Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. That was fantastic. And I have to commend you on your timeliness. We are right on time. Of course, that's what a producer likes to see. So great job there. We did have some questions that have come in during the presentation here, and we do have a few minutes left. So let's jump right into it. And you know, why don't we just go right back to you, Steve? The first question was, what are the ways in which schools and industry can implement this certification program?
Great question, Joe. We get asked that sort of thing on a regular basis. So I touched upon earlier the varying pilots that are going on in different parts of the country. The reality is that based upon the geographic region you're in and the industries that you support and serve, your programs from industrial technology sort of programs are contextualized to meet employer needs from that area. So every region's a little bit different. And so in terms of our variety of partners from across the country, they're doing test pilots in terms of integrating the system into their existing AA programs, AA degree programs. They're creating some separate coursework. Others are looking to fully integrate it. Some schools and some individuals are looking at creating a standalone program in and of itself, either credit or non-credit, in order to quickly address industry's need. You have to understand something from an industry perspective. When they come and talk to a school and the school tells them, we'll work on this program and we'll have some technicians available, you know, in 3 years, that just doesn't meet industry's needs and they'll go elsewhere. A system like this in a dedicated program that's fast-tracked can get somebody, up and running in 3 or 4 months, 6-month program, a year program, depending upon what you're looking at there in terms of a dedicated program, considering the 190 to 200 hours per certification level. There are also partnerships going on with workforce development professionals addressing the unemployment needs. You have to understand that what is going to come forward in this space in the year 2021 is going to be a significant amount of money coming forward in support of worker upskilling and worker retraining. The reality is that 22 million people lost their jobs as a result of the COVID at the onset in March and April. About 12 million of those jobs have come back, but you still have about 10 million people unemployed, and a number of those lost their jobs permanently. So there'll be government funding for this purpose going forward to help those that are out there that look to want to adopt supply chain automation programs. There are also some people that are looking at it from the perspective of, boy, it might be good to partner on a dual enrollment or dual credit with a CTE at a local high school partner who's real strong, and integrate that with our existing program at our school. So lots of different ways to work on this, and depending upon your region and where you're located and the companies you work with, you'll need to customize a solution to meet that need.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Steve. The next question would probably be best served for Mr. Neil Reddy. So Neil, let's go to you. The question is simply, is this program appropriate for high schools?
Sure. Thank you, Joe. Well, we've looked at this carefully, and we feel pretty strongly, working with Amatrol, that we do feel that the equipment maintenance or technician level 1 program would be suitable for high schools. Again, it is a little bit more demanding. There is a time factor involved. So based on our initial piloting here with training programs starting, we're looking at probably 190 to 200 hours for the equipment maintenance program. But it's something that could definitely be offered throughout the junior and senior year. And what's so strong about it is that you could combine it with some superb internship programs in the summer with employers. You could maybe incorporate it into a pre-apprenticeship that would lead to a much larger automation technician like AS degree that Steve was talking about. It would be a very strong program in the sense that we're looking at high school graduates looking at $18 to $20 an hour just to start as an equipment maintenance technician. And then that money, of course, opens up a lot of doors in the sense that they can go on and pursue higher level credentials, but they can also go on with their academic learning and pursue, AS degrees and so forth. So, and there can be fantastic articulation agreements between the high schools and the community colleges, offering these high school kids credit for the equipment maintenance program. So I think it'd be a real asset. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Neil. I know that's going to be a real important one for a lot of folks looking to, really create a full high school to college to industry pathway. So thank you. Paul Perkins, I'd like to go to you for this next question. The question it basically states, would the Skillboss Logistics system be appropriate for integrating into an existing industrial automation programs such as mechatronics or industrial maintenance or advanced manufacturing?
Well, thank you, Joe, for the question, and I think it's a great question, and the answer is absolutely yes. And the reason why it would be such a good fit in those programs is that Skillboss is really an automated system. It is a mechatronic system. It has all the elements of controls, networking, sensors, pick and place devices, various types of actuators. It's got DC, AC actuators. So it has all the components that you would typically find in an industrial automation system that might be used in a manufacturing plant. The stipulation is that it's focused around material handling, but that's a component of manufacturing as well. There are plenty of material handling applications all over manufacturing, and so I think if a school is teaching, as Steve was saying, there's a lot of different ways to implement the certification and the program, and Skillboss for that matter. And one of them is to grow it out of an existing program. So if somebody is teaching industrial maintenance, they could easily add this in and be able to either enhance what they're already doing in their manufacturing program, and really just for the purpose of helping students go into manufacturing. But this would also help them segue into the supply chain automation world as well. So it'd be a really easy way to be able to fit into two industries with one program. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. And gentlemen, it is 2:52 here. I know we'll want to be getting people on their way that have their next meeting to get to. So why don't we make this our last question for the day? Before I get to that question, just a reminder to everyone here on the webinar. So we do have, of course, a number of questions that we did not have time to answer on the webinar today. All these questions are actually being taken in by our group, and our team will actually be following up with each one of you individually by the end of this week if we were not able to answer your question here today. So be looking for us to reach out to you to address your question directly. And again, thank you so much for all of the feedback and questions that we've received from the group. It's actually been pretty tremendous here. So thank you. So I guess to wrap it up here, Steve, let's hand this one over to you. And this one actually came in several times. So Steve, the question is what are the starting wages for someone who earns these different certifications?
So thank you. That's always an important question. And then recognize first off that wage levels vary depending upon, again, what region of the country you're in. But with that said, we're very comfortable stating that the wage range for an entry-level tech runs from $18 to $22 an hour. So if you look, for instance, from an EM perspective, from the first level certification perspective, which would give somebody enough skills to be able to start with at an entry level or a tech trainee position at a company, you have the option, the people would have the option of taking on jobs that are making close to $40,000 a year. As you work up the progression and work your way and get more on the job experience, complete the level 2, level 3 certifications, get a few years under your belt, you can expect wages in the $25 to $40 an hour range, and a lot of senior techs at level 3 senior techs at large firms are making $75,000 and $80,000 a year. So it's a very lucrative career pathway. And as I talked about earlier, then there's other opportunities beyond that in leadership and that sort of thing. So really strong, and that's why NSF funded our work. So, to answer that question, and many of you right now in your email, everybody in your email inbox should have the survey from the National Center. I'd like to ask you to take a moment out at the conclusion of the webinar today to go ahead and click on that and fill that out. Thank you.
All right. Well, that wraps up our webinar for the day. Again, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and valuable presentations and input on the meeting. And would like to also thank everyone who attended here today. At this point, we are going to bid you a good day. And again, we will be following up with you directly to answer any of your outstanding questions. So everyone take care, be safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon.